Good day everybody, it's me Nate. Thanks for joining me for another BMS 4.33 aircraft review. This is actually an updated review of the Tornado. I've actually got all the Tornadoes now. I've kind of just test flown all of them, or I've had a look at all of them at least, and so I feel like I've now been able to give a better final review of what it actually has. It's a bit more complicated than the aircraft because the Tornado actually breaks down into several versions. As you would know, or if you're a fan of Tornadoes, you'd know it. If you're not a fan, well, the Tornado breaks out into several versions. In real life, it comes down to, as in this game, the ADV, which is the air defense variant, the IDS, which is the interdictor strike version, GR4, which is the British version of the IDS, although I would give it a separate category because they are a little bit different, and the ECR, which is the electronic warfare variant, or the SEED variant. I believe only the Germans operate the ECR. Oh no, I'm actually wrong. Sorry, the Italians also operate the ECR. The Italians and Germans both operate the ECR variant. I'll go through them one by one in this video. I've got an airbase. If you've seen my other video with the mission commander, you can edit them. I've edited all my Tornadoes into one airbase, so I've got the IDS, the ECR, the ADV, and the GR4. It doesn't matter which country's version of the Tornado you have. You can have the Italian IDS or the German IDS, or you can have the Italian ECR and the German ECR. They're identical. They carry the same weapons. But the different Tornadoes carry different weapons, so I do want to walk through that with you. So I'm going to go with them one by one, and then I will edit the video and slice them up, and you'll be able to see it. And I'll put timestamps in the bottom, so you can just jump to the Tornado you want to see the review of. Alright guys, well, I'm just going to cut this video here and jump to the first aircraft. So the first up is the Tornado ECR. The reason this is first up because it's the easiest to review. It only does one thing, and that it carries HARM missiles. It doesn't carry anything other air-to-ground loadout. It can carry up to 4 HARM missiles, but chances are you may only be ever carrying 2 because you'll probably be carrying fuel tanks on the outer pylons if you are going deep into North Korea. And of course, depending on where you set your airbase. It can carry a pair of sidewinders for self-defense, although it doesn't seem to have the outer extended pylon like the other Tornadoes do, so only carry one pair. It's also the only Tornado to carry the Cerberus ECR that looks like an ALQ. Now I did look into this a little bit. This is supposedly called, or not supposedly, it is in fact called the TSPJ, which is the Tornado Self-Protection Jammer System. It is a jammer pod that absorbs radar signals and then it decrypts them, or works out what signal they're from. So for example, an SA2 system, if it emits a certain wavelength frequency, it works it out and then sends the correct jamming frequency back. So instead of jamming, sending out a horde of jamming waves or frequencies, it sends a very specific one back. So it's supposedly a very efficient system. Whether it's modeled in this game, I cannot tell you. I don't know the jamming system and codes and stuff. In fact, a lot of the jamming stuff is classified and not actually modeled in game. So there's a good chance it just has a generic value, or maybe a higher than generic value jamming pod than the rest of them. That's actually all I can tell you about this aircraft. It does have an HTS, unlike the other Tornadoes. Doesn't carry TGP because you don't need one, but the HTS is hardwired into the Tornado if you carry AGMs, I believe. If you take them off, yeah. But if you carry HARM missiles, it has the HTS built into it. That's all there is. It's just other than that, it's just a Tornado. Cockpit's the same as all the rest. They all use the same cockpit. I really wish I could say more about this aircraft because I would like to be able to do seed missions with a regular Tornado and carry other stuff, but this is all this thing can do. So if that said, it's the best added out of all the Tornadoes because the GR4 only carries alarm missiles, and I don't think the IDS carries any form of anti-radiation missile at all. So this is the only one that does it well, and is probably the best at it, but can't do much else. So perhaps if you are flying with friends, and I'm experimenting hopefully soon to do a 4-ship Tornado, which composes of 2 packages, one with IDSs with bombs, and 1 package of 2 with alarm missiles, HARM missiles, the ECRs, which might be a good bit of fun. So teamwork, inter-type teamwork, so you can have 2 ECRs and 2 IDSs in a package, and you can data link them, of course, because if I recall correctly, you can data link same package flights. So if you make a package of 2 IDSs and 2 ECRs, you can data link together. But that's something I need to go experiment with. experiment with, so I haven't tried it yet. But that's the Tornado ECR. Very simple, not much to talk about there. And I'm going to move to the next aircraft now. So the next up is the IDS. The IDS you can have with two countries, the Germans and the Italians. Here we have the Italian IDS, and it has two camouflages, the camouflage, the two-tone camouflage, and a single tactical gray camo scheme. It carries the most weapons out of all the Tornadoes. With the RAF Tornado, the GR4s, you can only have weapons really underneath. You can carry alarms on the wing, but that's it. Otherwise, the wing pylons only carry fuel tanks. But this one, you can actually put bombs on the outer pylon. Granted, you can only carry one bomb on the pylon, unless you can model it yourself, which you can do if you'd like. It carries the most varied payload out of all the Tornadoes. It has cluster munitions, which has modeling issues. You can see there if I put 2, it disappears. But it's got cluster munitions, the BL-755, which is the British cluster bomb. It's also the only Tornado that actually carries cluster bombs. Sorry, I just should throw out there now. Obviously the ECR only carries harm missiles, but the RAF one does not have cluster munitions, whereas this one does. It also is the only Tornado to carry anti-ship missiles. It uses the AS-34 Cormorant. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Carries a variety of GBUs, Mark 84s, Mark 82s. I believe actually it's also the only Tornado that carried Mark 84s. I think the Tornado, the GR4 only carries Mark 82s and Mark 83s. So this is carrying the most amount of weaponry and also the heaviest amount of weaponry of all the Tornadoes. It's also got access to 2 nuclear bombs, which are currently out. I think the campaign has them out by default to stop you from just nuking the crap out of North Korea. As far as the air-to-air, it's got the same problem as the ECR. It only has the inner wing pylons for self-defense, so it only carries a pair of sidewinders. Another downside to this Tornado is that it doesn't carry a jammer pod. The Tornadoes themselves don't have jammers as far as I'm aware. The ECR has the BOS 107 ECR, which we've talked about in the previous section, and the RF1 has the Sky Shadow ECM. Instead, this thing has 2 chaff flare pods. It's got 2 BOS 107 IDS chaff flare pods. So no jammers as far as I'm able to decipher, which is kind of questionable. But when you got that many chaff flares, maybe you don't need them. I don't know. I haven't really flown this out much. I did it at the beginning. I had a lot of success with it low-level bombing. But you're probably going to get the most variety of missions and probably the most fun with this one if you want to do all sorts of like cluster bombs or iron bombs or dive toss, you know, whatever choice of bombing technique you want. This is probably going to be the most fun, at least the most variety of bombing techniques you can have access to. All right, guys. Well, that's the IDS. So let's move on to the next 2 Tornadoes. Next up now we have the Tornado ADV, the air defense variant. It's the only one that carries any real air-to-air armament. Underneath its belly, it's able to carry 4 main weapons, which can be either a combination of AMRAAMs or Sky Flashes. You'll probably be using the AMRAAMs the most because the Sky Flash is in fact a Sparrow upgrade for the RAF, which is a semi-active missile. I mean, that said, the AM-120B isn't exactly fire and forget either, but that's a topic for another video, which I will probably discuss at some other stage. It doesn't have a TGP or HTS because it doesn't really have any air-to-ground capabilities. It can carry a single Mark 82 bomb on its outer pylon, but that's really it, and that's not going to do much damage, to be honest with you. It's got a pair of sidewinders on the outer wings, which gives it a fair amount of weaponry overall. So you're bringing a grand total of 8 missiles, which is 50% long range, 50% short range. So that's not bad either. It's got access to the 1500 liter standard Tornado fuel tank or the 22 1500 liter RAF fuel tank, which only the RAF Tornadoes get, as far as at least in this game. So not much to talk about here. It's a fighter only Tornado. It handles itself well. It'll beat the North Korean MiG-23s and MiG-21s quite easily, or with some degree of skill at least. But up against MiG-29s, it's a little bit outclassed, and frankly, a lot of this should just be a BVR fighter. I mean, it's what it's designed for, which was to intercept things rather than dogfight things. So not much to say about here. Again, it could be cool to frag packages with air defense Tornadoes with regular Tornadoes, but that's something I'll have to look into in the future. All right, so we move on to the last Tornado. So guys, we move on to the GR4, which is the RAF strike craft, and the most familiar you've seen on my channel because I fly this quite a bit. It can carry up to 4 missiles for self-defense, which on a split pylon on the inboard, and it can carry a fair amount of air-to-ground weapons. A lot of these are precision weapons. They are half of them are GBUs, and the other half are just dumb bombs. It's also able to carry the Storm Shadows, so it's the only one that Tornado that carries stand-up weapons, and it can also carry a fair amount of alarm missiles. I think I made my view on alarm missiles quite apparent in one of the other sections of this video. I don't like them. They're not particularly effective. They're primarily used for suppression of air defense, as in seed roll, and it really is a suppression weapon because it's not able to fire accurately like the AGM-88, the HAR missile, at SAM sites. So you're firing these often either range unknown, or you're firing them on the POS mode, on equation of motion. So you fire them at a steer point and hope the radar turns on a SAM site, and I'll fire it. It's frankly just not as good because of the you don't have the HTS, which you're unable to pick here because it's locked out. Primarily used as a precision strike bomber in this game. It's alright. The advantage you would pick this over the IDS is that it can carry a Sky Shadow ECM pod. So the IDS, while not having a jammer, this does. So while having less of a payload, you're more likely to survive. And because you've got a little bit more self-defense weapons, you're able to dogfight a little bit more. And of course, it has access again, like the IDV, to the RAF big fuel tank. Just bear in mind with the fuel tank, your wing sweep will be limited. I think it's modeled in this game, so it won't be as swept back at high speeds. But other than that, there's not much to talk about here now. So I think that's all the Tornado's covered. I will probably just have to jump into a cockpit very quickly to show you guys where everything is and give my final conclusion to this video. Alright guys, so we're now in the office of the Tornado. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what you need to know from the top down. So at the top is the missile warning indicator, your G meter, your angle of attack indicator on your angle of attack tape on the side there. This is your master arm. So when it's up, it's on, and your laser arm is all the way down here at the bottom, which says laser arm. Your ECM stuff is all here, and it's all labeled appropriately, so I won't go in detail with it. But your chaff flare programs 1 through 4. And you push it to go on, flares on, jammers on, RWRs on. It's all push switches, they're all there. On the right hand side, you have all your engine instruments and your fuel gauge here, and there's a clock on the right hand side. There's an analog HSD here, a reasonably modeled artificial horizon. The gear lights are in reverse for some reason, so red is down, and green is up. I'm not sure what's going on there. On here is your emergency jettison switch. Your Cat 1 switch is here, and your throttles are here. The flaps are here. Left is down, right is up. If I click it, and your DD is all the way back here, which is a little bit obnoxious. So often I'm just using my number pad to actually use it. You have 2 MFDs, they both work except the left one doesn't have actual buttons modeled, but they are there. You can see I can click stuff with the inside, and yeah, that's pretty much it. The right hand side is where the lights are. I don't start up a lot with this aircraft because I really should learn it, but I don't do it very much because I don't have to learn another aircraft after the F-16 and maybe the F-18 and the Harrier, so I've been pretty lazy. But there is a startup procedure for it. And most of the keys do work. Just bear in mind again, as I stated before, these are all F-16 in disguise, and a lot of the weapons are also F-16 weapons in disguise. It's a very fun aircraft to fly though. It handles a little bit differently than the F-16. Its flight model is a little bit more sluggish than if you would fly an F-16, for obvious reasons of course. It's a big heavy aircraft with swept wings when those wings are swept. So it's fun. I really enjoy it. Alright guys, well I hope this was useful, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So like the video if you find it useful or helpful. If you have any questions, put them below. And if you've seen my mission commander video, you can edit the video campaign yourself to have all the tornadoes you feel like. I think that's it for me for today. So like I said, put some comments if you've got any questions. I'll always try my best to help you guys out. There is a Tornado manual out there on the BMS forums, which I can put a link to if you guys need it. It's not actually a manual, it's just a cockpit diagram, which it didn't come with the 4.33 release, which I'll put in the, I think I put in the comments. Alright guys, well, this is Nate. Hope you enjoy your flights, and have a good weekend. Alright, bye.